Hello everyone, it's Varus, and in this video I'm going to give you a full update on Debby and Debby only, trying to give you all the details for anyone in the path, which is millions along the eastern seaboard. So going to give you a full update, impacts to come, strength, track, where it's going to go again, and more. So let's get right into it. A power pack video, so I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible for you guys, so you guys can get on with your day, night, whatever it is. So taking a look at National Hurricane Center at first. Tropical Storm Debby, slow-moving Debby, bringing torrential rains to portions of the southeastern U.S., major flood threat for the southeastern U.S., to continue for the next several days, saying how slow Debby is moving, and you can see that, moving northeast at 7 miles per hour. A slow jog, honestly. Okay, or overall just a jog, and minimum pressure, 997 millibars, max sustained winds at 45 miles per hour. So a weaker tropical storm. Taking a look at cones, 11, as of the 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time update, it's about to actually come offshore. It has jogged a little more east than expected. We don't know exactly when it will be coming offshore, but since it is going so slow, we should see it at least really close to, if not offshore, by tomorrow morning/afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. And then as it comes off the coast, expected to jog north and make another secondary landfall in North South Carolina around the Myrtle Beach area. So please be careful. I'm going to give you guys some impact, like what to expect in terms of impacts. And notice again, right here, the wind field is mainly on the eastern side of the low pressure system. That tells you that this storm is very eastern lopsided, and that is indicated by this tropical storm wind field estimate, again on the eastern side of the low pressure. And that's actually way better than if it were on the western side. Why isn't it on the western side? Why isn't it symmetrical? I'll show you guys that in a bit. Now, how does it look on radar? Boom, have it pulled up. Let's take a look at where it is right now. I'm gonna let these frames finish up, and you can see it's overall been moving around northeast. You have the low kind of right in here, and I just wanted to put on 75 frames because if you did see, it kind of came up here, kind of jogged like that, and now it's finally coming kind of like that. And I just want to do some analysis because you got so you got this one really big band. I'm watching this one really intense feeder band continuously being fueled by the Atlantic and even some moisture tapping in from the Gulf. And this is going to come along the South Carolina coast, and maybe even eventually the North Carolina coast as Debby propels north and east. With this, since Debby is, you know, since these cyclones in the Atlantic rotate counterclockwise, the winds are whipping in like this, and that's what's causing that significant storm surge up to for like 2 to 4 feet for most of the South Carolina coast, and or if not all the South Carolina coast, and most of, if not all, the coast of Georgia. So please be careful, and areas of the Jacksonville area also being lashed by some storm surge and flooding. Now, there's some analysis. You do have, and here you have it. So because Debby is rotating counterclockwise, sorry for all these little stutters, trying to get everything together. We do have the low right in here, and since it is rotating counterclockwise, it's pulling in lots of dry air, and you can see that right here. I mean, you have a pretty good moisture shield right here near the inner wall, and then you have that outer band, but you have just dry air feeding right in between both those little precipitation areas and wrapping in the core, and it's affecting that western core, and that's why we haven't had a western core this whole time Debby has been alive. Okay, that's why we've seen such a little to no precipitation on the western side. So that's something that's very interesting and something to keep in mind as it gets off the coast and makes an attempt at re-strengthening. So there's your little analysis. Taking a look at wind speed, arrival times, and probabilities. Winds haven't been the main threat, but it is a tropical storm. It is bringing gusty winds. And just take a look at the arrival times for you. Eventually, this will extend more north as Debby continues moving, but since even though Debby is moving like slowly, the winds are still spreading out around 50 to 100 miles from its center. So winds could be arriving, gustier winds could be arriving much earlier than storms, rains, and main impacts besides wind. Now, here's the warnings, watches, a little better look at Debby's past track. Severe or tropical storm warnings line the entire coasts of South Carolina and Georgia, and a tropical storm watch issued for the southernmost coast of North Carolina. Some key messages. You guys can pause the video right here if you wanted to read that. And then here it is in Spanish. Give another opportunity to pause it. Perfect. Now we're going to get into the storm surge. Now I do want to talk about the storm surge because there is some flooding maps, inundation. So far, this is kind of present conditions, nothing much. You do have some areas of greater than 1 foot, all the way actually into North Carolina and South Carolina, but this is about to pick up, so please be careful. You have a couple near Myrtle Beach reporting around greater than 3 feet, so please be careful as this really does peak, get up and peak. The peak surge now, storm surge warnings for the whole coast of Georgia, most of the coast of South Carolina, and storm surge watches for Myrtle Beach area and getting into coast of the North Carolina. Storm surge potential or peak surge up to 4 feet from mouth of St. Mary's River, or basically the southernmost areas of Georgia, all the way up the coast of South Carolina, up into Cape Fear of North Carolina, up to 4 feet. So that is dangerous. Paired with flooding, paired with lots of rain, could cause flooding. Now, what that heavy rain, this is rain to come, 20 to 30 inches for Charleston. Okay, on top of whatever has already fell. So this is something that's going to be, or kind of like the forecast, that's going to be really interesting to watch. Savannah, right along the edge of 12 to 16 and 8 to 12 inches, so around 12 inches or so to come. Wilmington, North Carolina, in the 12 to 16 inches. So we have that one heavy area and then another heavy area up in the northeast, right over here. Kind of Philadelphia area from New York City to Philadelphia, around 6 to 8 inches of rain, which is pretty heavy, paired with some storm surge as well. Flash flooding potential, high risk, which is very rare, but there is a high risk down here in the southeast, Savannah, Charleston, areas of, overall just Charleston, Savannah, Myrtle Beach also. High risk, so lots of heavy rain and a high risk of flash flooding paired with rain and surge, and then a moderate risk as well to watch out for areas of Raleigh, almost into Charlotte and Augusta, Georgia. Now, another moderate risk for areas of the Philadelphia metro points north and west. Those have a 40% chance of flash flooding, so another thing to keep in mind. Lastly, the severe threat only really on Debby. Here we have it. Tornado threat 5%. Continuing on, tornado threat 2% for tomorrow. And then day 3, another probably going to be around 2% as well. Maybe 5% given if Debby does decide to strengthen up. Now, I do want to give some more analysis. Again, here's a better representation of that dry air really getting into Debby. I mean, you have dry air surrounding this storm, and there you have it kind of coming in. Dry air to the north, dry air to the west, but however, you have moist air to the east, which is keeping that moist precipitation shield. Now, you do have that, again, dry air coming into the center, and that's what's restricting the strengthening. Shear has been a slight problem, but it's not anything as much as the dry air. And then those are your main impacts overall. Now getting into sea surface temperatures, you have Debby right here. Here, let's refresh this, see if we got any new information or updated current center right here. It was in record sea surface temperatures, very warm, bathtub, very favorable strengthening conditions. I mean, it did take some advantage of that. It is heading offshore, and now look, you have the Gulf Stream right here, area of considerably warmer waters right in here, and then you do have your typical coastline waters, which are much not much, but slightly cooler. If Debby comes out from the coast and kind of just hugs the coastline before coming back into South Carolina, it'll be limited strengthening. If not, it'll probably either stay the same and maybe even weaken to landfall, towards landfall. However, if it comes out more into the Gulf Stream and then curls back, strengthening is much more likely. So that's something we got to watch out for. I've been seeing it all over social media, and it is a true fact that will affect Debby's future. Getting into the ensemble plots or where Debby's going to go, pretty good agreement in the next 48 hours. Overall, going to kind of cross Georgia, and then once it's kind of on the coastline, it's right around Savannah, it's supposed to kind of come off the shore, almost jog south a little before curling back into the Carolina coast. And then let's just take it all the way out, kind of right here. We'll just take it all the way out, and that's where it decides to go. Just use the ensemble mean for this one, guys. Comes off. Now, this doesn't take into consideration, this is 12Z UTC. Now, Debby has had that easterly kind of push, slightly, that easterly jog. However, it's still going to come off kind of right around here. And then it looks like, here, let's take a little better look at this. Yeah, so I'd say something like this in the pink. Kind of, most actually have it coming into Charleston area on the ensemble mean. We'll see if NHC makes any adjustments to, first of all, that easterly jog and anything else. If they do take that into consideration, I'm not sure completely if they will. I think they already did though with their 11 p.m. update Eastern Standard Time. Anyways, it comes into Charleston and then rides the coastline. Overall, I do agree with this ensemble mean. I think it's a very good idea of what's going to happen next. All right. Lastly, I do want to take a look at the any other models, the European model. I do want to take a look at and its things real quick with the ensembles. I do expect in terms of strength, okay, as it gets into the kind of the eastern seaboard, it's still a big question mark because it depends how much it strengthens down here. However, I'll expect a very weak tropical storm. I think that's very possible. Very weak tropical storm. Tropical storm watches, will they get issued? I mean, possibly, but overall, just a weak tropical storm, if not a depression, in my opinion. Now, getting into the European model, I do want to take a look at some factors such as the future of Debby. So the dry air, right? That's been a problem, and it consistently is a problem on the Euro. See it wrapping in right here? It does. Now, you do see some establishment trying to get going of a Western core, but it just can't get going, okay? But however, Debby does wrap that moisture along its eastern side. You can tell it's trying to fight that dry air off. Moisture here, you have moisture here, you have moisture on the north, but then you have that dry air really trying to get in from that south. So it's just a matter of how much Debby can fight off this dry air. Eventually, Debby does kind of get a little more of a moist bubble while it's actually on land. Okay, you see very minimal dry air kind of pocketing in through here. But overall, it does look like dry air is going to be a problem for Debby, for the future of Debby. Now, getting into total accumulated precip just based on the Euro. Reason I'm using Euro, I think it has the best idea of what's going to happen. Right here, you see actually the better rain totals to come. You see upwards of 10 inches for areas of South Carolina and Savannah, and then getting into in Savannah, Georgia, and other areas of Georgia. You getting of the coastline, getting into the eastern coastline, you do see around rainfall totals upwards of around 5-6 inches. Some heavier pockets upwards of 7 inches. So something that's still to keep in mind of with heavy rain. Something that hasn't been shown much is the significant wave heights. Taking a look at Debby currently, we do forecast, the Euro actually forecasts heavier waves really starting to come in. This is mainly kind of with the surge. I mean, you have waves almost 21 foot, 20 feet significant height. This is well off the shore. So closer to the shore, expect kind of like 15-foot waves in the significant realm. If it was really, really significant waves, like the higher ones you would usually see. And 15 upwards, lower 15, kind of less 15. And then it kind of, Euro kind of brings them up to East Coast too, upwards of 10 and eventually even up to like 15 over, especially once it gets towards Cape Cod, and then even into Nova Scotia could have impacts down the road from Debby. I'll talk about that in future videos if needed. So those are your wave heights. Lastly, I do actually want to talk about um, kind of in correlation with the diving upper level trough. That's actually gonna have some special phenomena with Debby as Debby gets picked up by that trough. Here I think it's represented here. Kind of have that trough. You kind of have those vortices kind of coming down with this as Debby kind of lifts up and interacts with this. They all interact kind of in this general area, and that causes Debby to actually usually have the same strength, if not strengthen a little over land, as it has better ventilating and can breathe more freely, and is not actually getting completely choked out by the land, given this upper level ULL interaction. So that's something to keep in mind. And you can see that the pressure actually starts dropping 998, 997, 995 as it gets into Atlantic Canada. So there's your European. I'll show you the this a little bit better on energy type. Looking at it at energy type. Uh, there you have it. There's your upper level, kind of like the center right there. There's Debby. Here is it's getting picked up, and Debby just follows that and has some better. It's kind of just reinforced, enhanced by this trough, which helps it maintain, if not strengthen slightly over land. So, lots to talk about. Full update. Gave you everything you need to know. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow. And have a great rest of your day. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. See you soon.